Welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Now, let's hear it for our host, Adam Katz.
Woohoo! Hello, Alliance Nation. Happy Wednesday to you. TWC, the Wednesday Call. Honored to be hosting today. Never take it for granted. Always honored that Andy and Jane Albright trust us with their team. And so we take these national calls very seriously. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's great to have you here. I am here today with my missus, Beth Katz, is joining us. And we also have Linda Goble out of Lee Summit, Kansas City area, Missouri. And we're just gonna chat, the three of us talking about how to avoid burnout, and how to really scale your business, and things that you can control. There's so many things that are out of our control. And before we get into it, speaking of out of our control, there is a hurricane coming at Florida right now, and we offer our prayers and best wishes, and seek cover, take safety. Just be safe during this storm. All our family and friends down in Florida, and that's in the path of this storm. We've had some folks ask us about, well, what about National Boot Camp? And the answer is, what about National Boot Camp? It's next week. The hurricane's this week. The boot camp is next week. So if the Orlando airport is open and operational, the National Boot Camp is open and operational. It's still over a week away. So nobody should be worried about the ability to get to the boot camp, and our ability to put it on and to keep it running and to add value to you. So full speed ahead in terms of the National Boot Camp. Definitely nothing to think about. So, all right. So in terms of your business and avoiding the burnout mindset, avoiding the keeping the main thing, controlling the controllables. Andy Albright wrote a book called Inside the Circle of You. And basically what it talks about is this: there's only two things you can control. You can control your attitude, and you can control your activities. Okay. And so I really wanted to take today's call and just talk about how to maintain control of those two things. Because we can't worry about the weather. We can't worry about, what's going on with politics. We can't, all of those things are out of our control. We have very limited impact on those type of things. But what we do have 100% control of is how we react to what's going on and how things are going on. And so that's really what this is about. So real quick, Linda, if you would introduce yourself to Alliance Nation. I know a lot of folks know who you are, but for those of you who may be newer and don't know who Linda Goble is, just give us a quick intro bio of your background, education background, and how long you've been with the Alliance, what levels you've achieved, and just what you're excited about.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for asking me to join a public version of what you, Beth, and I do all the time in private, just chatting and strategizing and planning and helping me grow. So we'll get to do that in front of y'all. I am Linda Goble. I am half of Keith and Linda Goble. We are out of Kansas City, Missouri area in a suburb of Lee Summit. And we've been with the Alliance coming up just past 12 years. And I couldn't think of a better place to have done life and to have done the bulk of my adult life. So I am excited for what's coming and excited for what we've done in the past. I just was thinking today, like, the best is yet to come, genuinely. Like getting, and here's the thing, no matter where you are, the best, if you found the Alliance, whether you day one or day 2001, the best is yet to come. And that's because of the vision of Andy and how he's always setting us on a trajectory to do more, to grow, and to take on new heights. So I've been, prior to the Alliance, I was, so I have a degree in chemistry. I went back to school because that wasn't getting me what I wanted. So I got a master's degree in business, still not what I wanted, the corporate grind. Jumped out of that into business ownership. I feel like you can almost say, you name it, we tried it. And we did some of it pretty successfully. We had consulting companies, we had software development company for hospitals, for a hospital product. We ended up landing kind of into some heavy brick and mortar stuff with coffee shops, restaurants, high-end wine bars, distribution centers that service those kind of restaurants and coffee shops, ours, and nationwide. We actually had kind of a big footprint of delivery and service to that. And then way back in 2008, and some of you maybe weren't born yet, but there was an economic meltdown, and we were part of that. We were exposed pretty heavily in that window of time. We were 5 businesses deep, 150 employees, millions of dollars in debt. Millions, like 2 million, but that's millions. Technically, that is millions. I did cross the S mark. It was plural. Anyway, and so we watched all that disappear, and then wondered what was next, and that's when we found the Alliance in a Target parking lot. A girlfriend of mine was going to a meeting, and she was a stay-at-home mom. She was stepping back into trying to get a job, get something going, and she was telling me about this friend of hers who was making a ton of money in insurance, and the big guy was coming in to do a meeting, and I was worried for her. I thought, this sounds sketchy. So we had lost all our businesses by this time, and I'm like, what's next? And the what's next for me was thankfully just bumping into the Alliance. And I told her I would check it out to make sure it wasn't a scam, because it sounded a little sketchy. And I went to the meeting, which we now know is a hotspot. So back then I did not have the fondness of a hotspot going in. Anyway, I fell in love with the people, fell in love with the idea, said this was for me, this is how I'm going to build the rest of my life. And that's what I've been doing with you all for the last 12 years.
And it has been a blessing being in partnership with you and Keith, and we've had a blast. We have, when we've been 10 worldwide trips together, just hanging out, and that doesn't count all the stuff we do together around the country and just nature of building business teams together. It has been a blast, and looking forward to the future. Linda has been on the forefront of the estate planning. This is not an estate planning call, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention Linda's success in leading from the front on the estate planning seminars. You just finished a round of seminars. Do you know? I'm throwing a curveball at her. I did not ask her this ahead of time. Do you know how many people you had at your event this time? Just tease these people a little bit. Give them a little bit of help.
Yeah, I don't know final numbers. We spreadsheet all that stuff out, but I think we had about 100 registered. I know this, we've had over 90% green sheets. So I got a lot of work ahead of me. And that's people requesting one-on-one conversations. And I think we have, from the buying units showing up in the building to the number of green sheets, we did 90%. So and we did 4 of them. We did four meetings. It was great. I think I have the next week and a half right up until conference, and then coming back from it, I literally am morning tonight. So it's going to be good.
Awesome. That's awesome. We are having a blast. Emily, my daughter Emily, and I are doing them together here in Wilmington, and just having a blast doing them. The seminars are fun. I like public speaking, so that I'm not nervous about that piece of it. And then meeting with these clients, meeting with these higher end clients, and the jigsaw puzzle approach to helping these people make things happen and fit things in. And so, and then the money's not bad either. As we have started moving some annuities. I know Linda's moved a fair number of annuities. Obviously, Belle Krause is the target. Not target in a bad way, but she's setting the bar for everybody to chase after and setting the pace. And we're just so proud to be in it. The system's getting purer and purer as we've had more and more training and more conversations about, hey, this isn't really working the way we thought it would. Why don't we tweak it this way? And it's just been a fun ride And to think that we're only a few months into it, and what it's going to look like 2 years from now is just crazy. So team, you ought to be excited. And definitely, it's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody should be looking at it, but it can be for anybody who wants to pursue it and make a go of it. It's interesting. You mentioned 2008 and the collapse of the Goble empire. All the businesses that you and Keith had built. It just got me thinking, and I don't think about this often, but guys, when 2008 hit the alliance, we were not well positioned for an economic meltdown like that. We were almost 100% mortgage protection. And for those of you who are too young to remember 2008, don't know the background of it, it was a mortgage meltdown, which means there were no more mortgages. The banks were closing, houses were being foreclosed on, banks were going out of business. Cats and dogs were living in harmony. It was chaos. And what I've gained appreciation on is this: what kept us through that crisis, because that was a financial economic crisis, and it was a huge one for the alliance. The steady leadership and positive reinforcement that Andy Albright gave all of us is the only thing that kept us, that allowed us to navigate through that storm. Like the captain of a ship in a major storm, Andy just had a steady hand and was such an encourager and just showed over and over again how much he had our back and that we were going to be okay. Just that constant encouragement of, hey, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to come out the other side. We're going to be okay. And I don't know that there are very many leaders in this country, very many leaders in industry that would have survived that downturn like the Alliance survived the downturn, and not only survived it, but thriving through it. I think we forget what an incredible leader we have in Andy Albright and everything that he's accomplished. So that kind of leads into the conversation here, because burnout is something that a lot of people deal with. Burnout is something, in my mind, my definition of burnout is you get tired of doing what you're doing and you don't want to do it anymore. And we all have days like that. The key is keep it days like that. I was chatting with some people this morning, and I was quoting out of a Zig Ziglar book, and it said, "You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by not getting up." We're all going to have those days where we don't feel at our best. How do we push through that? How do we keep things moving forward? That's really the critical piece. And it's the 6 inches between the ears that is the most important piece of that. There's how to make phone calls, how to do an ATM presentation at home, how to operate the underwriting tool and create the software and find which carrier in the quotes and all of that stuff. All of those things are very important. And you need to learn them, and you need to learn our carriers, and you need to learn the product mix. You need to learn all of those things. And then on the recruiting side, you need to learn, how to run ads. You need to be talking to President's Club about getting your ZipRecruiter ads up, or whatever strategy you have, and how to have those conversations. Jason Mathis has done some incredible trainings at conferences on the technique, the technical aspect of how to recruit and build your business teams. All of that is very important. With that said, if you don't have your mind on growth, if you don't have your mind in the right place, the mechanics aren't going to be what saves you. It's the mindset is I would say the mindset is more important than the mechanics are over mindset. They're both important, to be crystal clear. I'm not downplaying the importance of the mechanics, but the idea that we're just going to work our way through it without getting our minds right as we're working our way through that's something that I think is critical that we understand and get around. So I got 3 points that we're going to chat about today on how to avoid that burnout feeling and keep things new and fresh and keep yourself motivated to continue to grow and keep moving up the levels. Number one is this. It's what is your vision? What is your mindset? Get the coin right there. Andy Albright, we love the book Goals by Brian Tracy. And in the book, Brian Tracy talks about, thank you. Brian Tracy talks about the success coin. And in his, it was just an imaginary thing that he made up. But Andy Albright took it and he actually made success coins. Okay. And on the one side, if you don't have one of these, I would encourage you to get one. They're going to be they should be plentiful at the National Bootcamp. You can buy it from the store. You can also order them online from the Alliance store. You can't get these on Amazon. You're going to have to get them through the Alliance because these are Alliance specific. But it says on the one side, what do you want? Simple, clear goals. And then on the other side, it says, how do I get it? But if you don't know what you want, the how doesn't matter. Because you're not going to go out of your comfort zone. You're not going to be willing to do the things necessary. At least I wasn't be willing to get to drive through everything I needed to drive through. The how wasn't going to save me. I had to keep the what in front of me. What was my vision? What was my mindset? There are two major reasons why well-intentioned people like us get stuck. Okay. Number one, we don't think big enough. Most people, when they get started, and by the way, you got to meet people where they are in this business. Not everybody's coming in with an Andy Albright mindset. Not everybody's coming in, with a competitive spirit that an Andy Riddle has, that they just have to win. Not everybody comes in with the business mind that a Mike and Noah Levitovich bring to the table. Most people, they're coming in a lot of times financially behind the eight ball and clinging to hoping that the Alliance is what it shows itself to be. And so most people get started thinking, if I can just pay my bills, if I can just make a sale this week, and they don't think big enough. And if you're not thinking big enough, that's one element that's going to keep you stuck. Because you don't see the bigger picture, so you don't think there is a bigger picture. So one big thing is this: we don't think big enough, and then the second thing is this: we don't start small enough. Okay. And I know it sounds a little bit opposite and contradictory, but really, if you think about it, we got to start with a big vision. I want to do this. I want to go EVP. I want to be a junior board member. I want to get to the 100% contract level as quickly as possible. I want to be super PAC. I want to build a business. I want to be a value of people. Have these big visions. I want to have money in the bank. I want to make millions of dollars. Big vision. But then you got to start small. And what I mean by start small is it starts with a phone call. You got to actually do the work. You can't just have your heads in the cloud. Then you got to come back down and do the details. Okay, the basics matter. The details matter. Everybody says, "Well, I thought you guys said don't sweat this. Don't sweat the small stuff." Yeah, we said don't sweat the small stuff. We didn't say don't take care of the small stuff. Okay, it's not don't lose sleep over it. Don't make it an emergency. Don't make it bigger than it, but you still got to do the small stuff. So Beth, if you would talk a little bit about that concept of big dreams, big vision, while at the same time keeping your eye on the little details that we need to make sure we get taken care of.
Right. I kind of think back on our story. So we met Andy and Jane when we were brand new newlyweds, and we were first year teachers, and we were discovering that school teachers don't earn a lot of money. Yes, we should have known that going into. We did. But the reality of living with a paycheck and then the bills, that comes in and messes with you. And so where we had started off very optimistic about future, we were quickly losing that sense of hope. We met Andy and Jane, and they offered that hope. There's hey, here's a vehicle. Now, the first vehicle we tried wasn't the one for us, but when we found the alliance, found insurance, we made it work. But in them, we saw a picture of what life could be 5 years down the road. There's 5 years difference between Andy and Jane and Adam and me in age, and there's always the joke of, man, when you hit 30, when you hit 35, when you hit 40, and we have yet to catch up with them, but there's still hope. We're still here. There's still hope. So that power of vision, it can bring life into you. It can give you that sense of, okay, there is more if I will do what the people who are getting more have done. So you got to marry that. Okay, I want to be where they are. Now will I do what they do? Will I make as many phone calls as the top salespeople are doing? Will I invest as much money as the top salespeople are doing? And then start where you can start. So if someone's making 500 calls a week and you've never picked up the phone once, well, let's pick up the phone once, and that's a victory. And then do it again, and then do it again. And before you know it, you've made the 500 dials. Maybe you can't put $1,000 into leads right now, but can you start with 250 with Bang Bang? Can you start with 100? Can you talk to your mama into supporting your business and giving you some money for leads? Like, start with what you can do, and then you can build. But if you don't ever take that little seed that is already in you, that bit of potential, and put some work to it, plan it, get it going, then the vision never happens. It's kind of like planning a trip, and you've got all the excursions you want to do, all the places you want to visit, all the good food you want to eat, but you never leave your couch. You're never going to take that trip.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wrote this quote down. Turn your limiting beliefs into launching beliefs. What is it that you don't think you're capable of? And then just take that thought and turn it around. Turn that frown upside down. Turn it around and make it a launching belief of that I am capable of everything. Linda, when you start thinking about your mindset and how you keep yourself steady, because obviously you survived the economic downturn, you were able to re-energize yourself. A lot of people would have been done in the business world and taking any chances and betting on themselves ever again after what you and Keith went through in 2008. So what is it that you've done with your time here at the Alliance, and that you try and model to your team as well, in terms of your vision and your mindset and how you operate on a daily basis and on a quarterly basis?
I love it. I wrote that down. The collapse of the Goble empire. I think that's what. Remember 2008, everybody, right? So anyway, it was. So when we set out to do all that, we were in our early 30s, and we were like, we're just going to build something. We're going to do something for ourselves. And I love what you said earlier in this, how Andy led you all in this business through that chaos. What I would have given to have had a mentor, a leader, someone that I was following inside of my business model. Because when that ship started to sink, we were on our own. And what a beautiful opportunity we have inside of the Alliance to do this whole business, ups and downs, economic wins and losses. We get to do it together, and a part of such an incredible business, but also such incredible leadership all the way down, right to y'all too. I mean, how fun would it have been to go under with a team? So, although y'all did that, we were out there doing that around. But so what does it take to keep going? And this is so important, is just having that vision. And you were saying it, and I love it. You want to do this, you want to do this, you want to be a board member, you want to have freedom, you want to. But what are we going to do, right? So there's the difference. We want things, but we have to do things. And you said it, right? That's the no sweat the small stuff. So you have to know where you're headed. You have to know. And Here's the thing, it has to be yours. It can't be latching on to what somebody else thinks would be good for you or what you think sounds good. It has to be what you're going to go do to make your life the way you want it to be. It's your life. You get to live it. You get to create it. The beautiful thing here is you can use this vehicle to do it. I think every time I think of vision, I always think of that. I read in a book somewhere about a lady who swam, Chadwick, I think. She swam from Catalina Island to California. It's kind of a famous channel that you cross. It's 26 miles, and it's a daunting swim, clearly. And she did it back in the 50s, and she was 15 hours into that swim, and a fog set in. And she couldn't see anything. It was just soup. And an hour in the fog, she gave up. She got out. And when they pulled her in the boat, later they realized they were, because 1952, right? There's no GPS. You're not tracking. You're on, but she got it. She was a mile from shore of that 26-mile swim. She gave up 1 mile out. And her statement was, if I could have seen the shore, I would have made it. And that, y'all, that's us. That's this. That's, if you could see the shore, you would have stuck it out. How close are you, right? How close are you? So don't give up. Just get a crystal clear vision of the shore. Keep your eye on it, and then do the what it takes to get there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Talking about the mentorship, the leadership, you do have people who have already laid out a path on how to be successful, how to do this business, and how to make real money, not nickels and dimes, but real dollar bills, and how to stack cash and how to grow a business. And so following the patterns is huge. And yes, you have to. One of the things I love about what we've been doing with the estate planning stuff is it's not a one-size-fits-all plan. I mean, the estate plan it is, but then when you get into the financial plans of these people, and you'll talk to one person, they have $400,000, and that's their total asset base, and you'll talk to another person, they got $15 million in total assets, and their goals are totally different. We have one client, they're trying to make $700,000 last the rest of their lives. Then we have another client, they got $3 million and they're not worried about outliving their money. And so everybody, you got to meet people where they are. So you're going to hire somebody, or you may be somebody that gets started in this business. And, your goals are very, very simple. It's just, if I can just make this much more than my monthly bills. And that's where it starts. What I love about this business is because of the system, because of these calls and National Bootcamp next week and things like that, somebody who comes into it with their vision being that low, it expands. And where you are today, it may be unrecognizable what your vision is 6 months from now. And Linda is 100% right. It's got to be personal to you, because you can't build this business for somebody else. You got to build it for you, your goals, your dreams. What I will say, though, is as a leader, you need to have a big enough vision that other people's dreams and goals can fit inside of yours. Like you can't be like, man, if I could just get my agents, if I could just hit agency manager, $25,000 in team production. Meanwhile, you have a $30,000 producer. And they're like, what do you mean? That's all we're going for is 25? I'm already doing more than that. And so you have to keep, as a leader, you have to keep expanding your vision so that your team's vision can fit underneath it as well. I saw this about desire. Desire is the ingredient that changes the hot water of mediocrity to the steam of outstanding success. Desire is the ingredient that changes the hot water of mediocrity to the steam of outstanding success. If you're running at 210 degrees, you just hot water. Now, you can scald somebody, you can leave a mark, but you can't cook. 212, now you're boiling. Now you're creating steam. Now you can move a train all the way across the country. 210, you can't do much. 212. And so many people, they're sitting there at 210 and they think they found it. They think it's in their heart. They think they have the desire, but they're just missing some element of it. So Beth, what are some things people can do and they can focus on to help grow that desire so that they can go from 210 to 212?
To begin with, make sure that you're hanging around the team. So if you are getting in the room where the leaders are, by the way, we'll all be at NBC. So get your ticket to National Bootcamp, but be in the room with those leaders, because that's being around Mike and Noah Levitovich, Andy and Jane Albright, Andy Riddle. That keeps us always growing. Like, oh, there is more. Like, we have not arrived yet. There is so much more that can be done, and that allows you to kind of ever evolve your vision. Having these kinds of conversations, like, hey, the what if? Oh, won't it be amazing when? And just finding the people, and this is why association and people you hang around with is so important, who are speaking life to you, who are thinking about, oh, yeah, I see in you the ability to achieve those dreams. When you've got the people that are pulling you down, we call them the basement people, that are just trying to keep you down in the dark, like, no, like, oh, who would ever want to go, who would ever want to go to Cabo? I mean, that means you have to leave the house. Or, those kinds of comments that just you're all excited, and then they've just poured water on you. Those are people that you need to be spending a lot less time with, and get around people who are going to build you up more. Keep looking around for things that are available. Like, Andy loves the Robb Report. In fact, our new one just came in down over there. The Robb Report, like, what's in that magazine that people want, that people are chasing after? What stirs your heart? Like, are those causes that you see? Is there like, gosh, I wish, I wish I could donate more to people who are recovering from Hurricane Helene. What could I do? Like, wouldn't it be awesome if I could go get a tractor trailer truck and fill it with water and take it to those people? Like, what stirs your heart? Because like Linda says, that's personal. And when it's personal to you, you're more likely to act on it. So I love that. Just anything that you can do that will expand your vision. Go sit in the car, that your dream car, like, smell it. Smell that new car smell. It definitely smells different than when you buy a car that's not new. Like, just experience that. So I mean, those are some of the things that we've really focused on. Vision boards, like our kids have been doing vision boards since they were young. Our daughter Sarah even did her honors thesis in college on vision board and presented at a conference in Washington D.C. on it, and that's just inspired her. Can I tell the Sarah story real fast about the conference?
Sure.
Okay. So Sarah has an author that she's been following.
Oh, yes.
So yeah. Sarah has an author that she's been following. She was had a plane ticket to Detroit for a family event, and she saw that the author was going to be speaking in Chicago the day before. So first of all, she's like, "Oh, I can change my plane tickets." Not a lot of people know that. So she rerouted her trip to go to Chicago to get there for this conference. She arrived early, because that's what Alliance people do. We arrive early. And the coordinator went up and introduced herself. Sarah's talking. She's like, yeah, I came from Georgia for this conference. So the coordinator goes backstage, tells the author about, hey, this person's just flown in from Georgia to see you. The author comes out, introduces Sarah. Sarah's been communicating with them previously, so she recognized the name. Sarah stays the whole event. It's over. Alliance people come early, but we also stay late. And so Sarah was like helping clean up and all that kind of stuff after the conference. And the author came over and said, hey, you got plans after this? And Sarah's like, nope. And she's like, all right, you want to come back and we'll go have a glass of wine. And so Sarah and the author that she's been admiring, she stayed another till midnight with the author, just one-on-one time, because she learned the lessons of come early, stay late, and chase after your dreams.
And she had that dream in her mind and in her heart that she wanted to meet this author. It was on her vision. So when the opportunity arose, she took advantage of the opportunity. And because of the mindset that the Alliance has always taught us that we were able to raise our kids with, I'd say they grew up all right because they grew up with Andy's mindset. Details like Chicago versus Detroit versus Georgia, that's just a detail. When the opportunity is there, the obstacles go away because she had her dream, her vision was bigger than the obstacle that could have kept her from going. And so that's a huge thing there. All right. So I went to this conference over the weekend and it talked about what are your priorities? Everybody says this is my priority, and maintaining your priorities is important to you. And again, that's a very personal thing. But let's just talk about your business priorities. We understand God, family. Those are priorities. Those are mine and best priorities. God, family, business. When it comes to our business, though, it's the things that our business provides that we're able to do through our business that allows us to provide for our faith and our family. Okay, so a lot of the things we do at the Alliance is in support of things we want to do faith and family wise. So they talked about how do you know what your priorities are? And Linda, I'm going to tee you up on this. There are 3 questions to ask yourself on your priorities. And are they really your priorities? So here are the 3 things. Number 1, what do you think about? What do you think about most? Because what you're thinking about is a priority. Okay. Number 2, how do you spend your time? And then number 3, how do you spend your money? Because where your time goes and where your money goes, those are your priorities. So we have an opportunity coming up next weekend to spend our time and our finances, our money, to go to Orlando, Florida for our national boot camp. And there are going to be some people who don't make it because they didn't have, they couldn't afford it. And I do that in air quotes. And I'm not knocking anybody who's in financial dire straits or anything like that. But my goodness, folks, we have a license to print money. You still got 10 days, 9 days. We got 9 days before it starts. You know how much simplified issue insurance you could write over the next 3 days and have a nice paycheck next Wednesday? So saying I can't afford to go 9 days before the event, to me, it's just not a priority. So Linda, if you would talk about how you prioritize, not necessarily your whole life, but from a business perspective, where are you putting your time? Where are you putting your money? And how does it connect to what you think about?
Absolutely. So I think NBC is just the perfect thing to surround this conversation with. So National Boot Camp, it's this coming up here in a few days. It's in October. 12 years ago in October was my first conference. And it was, I'd met the Alliance in August, the end of August, and I was 2 weeks in around it. And I was at my first conference down in Dallas. I'm in Kansas City. So I carpooled with some people, which was a great way to start my Alliance career because I vowed to never carpool with people again. I didn't know them, and it was a crazy, crazy overnight ride. And I'm like, well, from this point forward, we shall have enough money to fly. And I went out, and I always have flown. I've never missed a conference. And here's the thing: if you're new with us and you're like, well, I'll get the next one. No, get this one. If you have decided the Alliance is where you're going to work and build a career, then you are part of us. And part of us is coming to conference, and it's coming to be around us. Y'all, Beth was kind of talking about just surround yourself with it's so important, so important. I'm in an office that's a business complex, and so I was in the hallway and I was listening just before this call. Two people, one was the receptionist and then another one worked for somebody here, and they were lamenting that it was only Wednesday and they thought it was Thursday and they wished how desperate that it was Friday because they're waiting for the weekend. Ugh. So that broke my heart. I'm like, what a terrible way to live your life, waiting for the weekend, waiting for it to be over. I wake up every day excited. I'm like, oh man, I cannot wait to see what today brings. And I'm blown away that it's already Wednesday. And what is happening to my week? It's disappearing faster than I can absorb it. So how do we get that? We get away from the hallway conversations and the old school mindset and the work mentality and the drudgery of life, and we go to NBC and we go to the boot camp and we go to the next conference and we hang out with people who are saying things like, I cannot wait. What should we do when we go to Cabo? What should we do to help at the next disaster? How can we be prepared as a team to go in and make an impact? The only way you get out of this muck and mire and get pulled into is through association into the next level of lifestyle and income and vision, and just what a great way to live. Anyway, so I cannot say enough about being around what you think about, right? It's what you think about. So if we're not what you think about, fix that. Right? Start because and part of what you think about is how to get better, how to make yourself better. Boot camp, conferences, books, all of it. These meetings. Just here's the thing. This little conversation that we're having here is stuff people don't hear. You don't hear this unless you're inside the Alliance. Now, Adam and Beth have been around this a long time, and I've been around it a long time, and we start to take it for granted. But I was blown away. I'm like, that just happened outside my door. Now, they're not with us. They're in they have their own little worlds and businesses. But it reminded me of the importance of hanging out with people that have vision, have hope, have a future. And man, I just stick around, get around, and catch that vision for yourself.
So that's awesome. Thank you. That leads us to my number 2 point. So number 1 was vision mindset. Work on that. And don't look at the clock and be like, it took 40 minutes on the first one. When is it called? We'll be finished on time. Relax. But the vision is so important that it's worth, if you don't get that right, everything else will collapse on itself anyway. So maintaining the mindset. So how do we continue to do that? Number 2 point is this: personal development. Okay. Andy dedicated 3 of the 8 steps to personal development: listening to audio, reading books, and attending all meetings. Steps numbers 3, 4, and 5 in the 8 steps to success, if you're keeping score. And that idea of who you will be 5 years from today is going to be determined by the people you hang around and the books that you read. And guys, those are choices. If you got a negative Nancy at your family reunion, stay away from her, or better yet, quit going to the family reunion. We like to say that the Alliance family, and it is a family. We're doing some interviewing to hire some part-time staff here in the office. And, one of the things that we tell people is, if you're part of our business, you're part of our family. Terry Edwards is my brother. Stephen Davies is my brother. This business is my family. Now, I got a wonderful family. I love my blood brother, and I love my blood sister, and my parents. We're so blessed that all 4 of our parents are still around. We love our families. But this is the functional family we choose to be a part of, versus the dysfunctional family most of us are born into. It's a choice. So choosing who you spend your time around, who you hang around, is going to have a huge determination on where you're going to be 5 years from now. And it's like eating cheeseburgers every day. You're not going to get fat overnight. But if you do it long enough, you're going to have a problem. And it's the same thing. Not reading for a day isn't going to change your mindset overnight. But over the next 5 years, it's going to compound on itself. And choosing who you associate with over the next 5 years is going to have a huge compounding effect on the type of person you're going to be 5 years from now. That's what I loved about the whole conferences and everything else is, our kids were going to these things since they were 9 years old. If I was so proud, I bet we were so proud of Emily and her family reunion talk. Oh my gosh, just the poise and how young she is. But you know what? It's not like it's the first time she's gone to a family reunion. She was not prepared. She had been building her whole life for that because of the people she associated herself with. So a couple quotes that I found dealing with this. The person who won't read is no better off than the person who can't read. And by the way, when we talk about reading, we're talking about actual physically reading. Eyes on paper, fingers going across pages. Get a highlighter, get your notebook, and jot all over it. Buy the book. Don't get it from the library. Don't be writing on library books. But buy the book, make it yours, and then really make it yours by highlighting and everything else. So I love audiobooks. That's listening. That's not reading. We got listen and read. So make sure you're doing both of those things. So if you're not reading, assuming that you have the ability to read, you're no better off than somebody who's never learned to read. Let that sink in for a minute. Anyone who isn't embarrassed of who they were last year probably isn't learning enough. We are put on earth to evolve. Our mentalities, our philosophies, our visions, our businesses, there's no, you're either growing or you're dying. It's like a tomato on the vine. I've heard Andy say so many times. It's not ripe very long. It's either growing or it's going to start dying. You either continue to grow as a person, continue to evolve as a person. If I don't continue to evolve, then I'm going backwards. And I'm not going to be any good for my wife. I'm not going to be any good for my kids. I'm not going to be any good for my business team. So I have to always stay in that growth mode, which means you should be able to look back and see how far you've come from the things you used to think about. I heard John Maxwell say this. He said, if we're no better tomorrow than we were today, then what is tomorrow for? It's just another way of saying the same thing. So that's so important, that personal development piece. Beth, talk about how big a role personal development has played in terms of our business and the growth that we've seen throughout our time with the Alliance.
So I think back, when we met Andy and Jane, we had jobs, right? So a lot like Linda was just talking about. When's Friday coming? The grind of getting up and teaching school and coming home and grading papers and going to dances and athletic events, and when's it coming? And when you come into a business and understand that who we are 24/7. So I'm a wife 24/7. I'm a mom 24/7. We are a business owners 24/7. There's not like a weekend that we just shut down. Nope, I'm not going to think about my work. I'm not going to think about my business. We get to, yes, we have time for family. We can still prioritize that. It's kind of like when I was used to be talking to the kids about things and be like, well, what about this? And what about that? I'm like, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about how do we focus and prioritize and grow. And so learning for us, it was learning that concept of, okay, we don't clock in, clock out. We are who we are. The Alliance is what we do. And so that was huge. I go back to, this is the guy that when we started dating, he said, I will only call you to tell you what time I'm going to pick you up. We will not talk on the phone. And now he lives talking to people on the phone. He lives communicating. That is an evolution that really came as a result of a dream that was big enough to overcome the fact that he didn't want to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. And so that personal development allows you to start doing things that you didn't think you were capable of doing. And if you don't personal develop, if you don't get around the people that are going to push you, then you never discover those those fruits. I love the idea behind from the gap in the gain, that sometimes, we have these goals of what we're chasing for, and we've done this much, and we look and we see how far we have to go without reflecting on how far we've come. And if you're only looking at the gap of what you haven't achieved yet, it can be depressing, and it can be weighty, and it can be that growing weary phase. But if you look at how far you've come, like, hey, I never picked up a book before, but now I read 5 pages a day. I read 10 pages a day. I've never done more than 30 dials in a dial session. Now I'm doing 100 dials a day. Like, that's a growth measurement. And so in looking back, you can see how far you've been able to come. Personal development, like, we've just got to keep getting better and better every day. That constant and never-ending improvement. Connie, or Canny, in my Southern, right? Constant and never-ending improvement. What are you committed to today to getting better at? What will you do today that's going to improve your skill set? Who are you going to ask for guidance? What book are you going to read? What nugget are you not only going to read, but then you're going to process, you're going to think about, you're going to then figure out a way to take that nugget and put it into action. All of that are the pieces of personal development that'll help you get where you want to go.
So Ernest Hemingway said this: there is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. We're running our race. Don't get me wrong. We got leaderboards. We keep score. But ultimately, you're running your race, and you got to compete against yourself to become the best version of yourself. And I've always looked at my job as a leader, as a mentor, as a coach, was to help the people I'm working with, the people I'm talking to become their best version of themselves. Because here's what I understand. If I can help you, or if I can help Linda become her best version of herself, whatever that means, then I don't need to worry about productivity. I don't need to worry about what her AP for the month is. Because when you have somebody who's their best version of themselves, they're operating on peak levels across the board in everything in their life. Their relationships are at peak level. Their spiritual life is at peak level. Their health is at peak level. And their productivity in their business is at peak level. So if we focus in on that personal development piece and helping people become that best version, then it makes everything else fall into place. So leading into the third piece of what I wanted to talk about today. So we have our vision, we have our mindset. And again, all of this is how to scale our business. We start off writing a policy, then we write 5 policies, then power of 10. We got our 10th policy issued. And then we keep growing, and we get our first recruit. Then we get a handful of recruits, and then we help our recruits recruit somebody, and we start having the seeds of an organization growing. And this is how it's bit by bit, it's piece by piece, that's going to get you to the top levels of your company, of your business. So we start with the vision and the mindset. Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? And then we get into the personal development. How do I become the person I need to be able to get there? Because there's something called the law of the lid. John Maxwell writes about it in his Laws of Leadership. There's the law of the lid. You do not want, Andy always says this, I don't want to be the crimp in the hourglass. If you've ever seen one of those hourglasses, you pour this and the sand comes down, that little middle piece, that's the crimp. It's called the crimp. CRIMP. And that's what slows the sand down. Andy would like to take the crimp out and just, that's how he wants your business to grow, to just, without having to go through that process. He just wants you to go from A to Z immediately. But most of us have to go through a growing process. And that's where that personal development piece comes in. What are we doing to work on our mindset, to work on ourselves, so that we can become less and less of the crimp in the hourglass to ourselves as well as to the people we're working with. And then the last piece of it is this. discipline. You gotta I have to discipline myself to do the things necessary to be successful. Only God can send the rain, but he expects you to dig the ditches. You're going to have to do the work. The opportunity is there. It's right there at your fingertips. Now you got to go after it. You can't shortcut the shortcut anymore. How is this a shortcut? You don't have to work a corporate job for the next 40 years. This is a shortcut to the 40-year plan of graduate when you're 20, 18, or 22, work for the next 40, 45, 50 years, and then retire on half what you couldn't live with to start with. This is build something of value, live life on your terms, grow a real business. But you're not going to do it without discipline. You're not going to do it without putting the work in. So many people, it's just like, God, let me win the lottery. And God's looking down at you and like, can you help a brother out? Can you maybe buy a ticket? You're trying to win the lottery and you won't even buy a ticket. If you're expecting this business to grow on its own, it's not going to. You're going to have to go through the work. You're going to have to do that. Linda, if you would talk about discipline and how, things you've discovered through the years that help with the disciplines, either that you found out about yourself and how you run your business, or that you've seen in your teammates and how they've evolved over time to generate those and develop those disciplines.
So I think one of the biggest things that I just hope everybody gets is it's ownership. So you join the Alliance and we say, now you own your own business. So here's the key. You own it. So you have to take ownership of it. And that means the results are up to you. And I think if we could grasp that, then the discipline would fall in place. Because if it is going to be, right, it's up to me. And so if you can take that on, then you will get busy. And you will stay disciplined. And you will show up when you don't want to show up. And you will stay up when you don't want to stay up. And you will get up when you don't want to get up. Because it's yours to be successful with or yours to fail with. So I heard one time someone on something many years ago, he kept saying, it was a speaker, and he was saying, nobody's coming for you. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody's coming to pick you up and take your business to new heights and new levels. It's on you. So if it's gonna be, it's up to you. And that's, I watch people come and go in the Alliance, and the biggest thing I think I see them do is they don't think the results of their effort and their input are up to them. They wait for it to happen. They show up a little bit, they do a little bit, and then they give up. And y'all, I've done a lot of businesses to no avail, right? And to some to really good. I mean, we made money and we had tons of employees. But here, the effort I put in, the results are exponential. It's crazy. So what a beautiful opportunity. But here's the thing, if you don't do it, it will not happen. And so that's where discipline for me starts. If you can take ownership that if anything good's going to happen in this, it's on me. If the appointments are going to come, it's on me. If building a team is going to come, it's on me. Now, surrounded, support, and everything, but fundamentally, Adam Katz does not build my business. Right? He builds his business. Right? And he helps me. But if it's not going to happen, and Adam, you say that all the time, everybody go away tomorrow. It's okay, because the most important person in my business is still here, and it's me, and I'm going to go. And that's my big thing. I would encourage everybody to just take ownership. Be like, okay, but here's the cool part. If you take ownership and you do it, it works tremendously well, and you'll do great if you decide it's up to you.
Awesome. Andy Albright says this. He says, we have 100% success rate with people who don't quit. 100% success rate. So why wouldn't everybody be 100% successful? There's something called psychological flexibility. And what that means is this. You either learn to manage your emotions or your emotions will manage you. And then having that psychological flexibility is what allows you to manage your emotions. Discouragement, because you think that that policy should have been issued and the underwriter declined it, or that recruit, was going to get in and then they didn't like something. They saw something in the contract that they didn't like, or they don't understand how the levels chart works and how the globe, and just so you allow the emotion of a lapse policy, a chargeback, an agent that didn't get started with you, or an agent that quit. You allow that emotion to dictate the lack of discipline on what you do next. And if we can manage the emotions and be like, keep moving forward. Everybody practice that with me. When you can master the and keep moving forward, you can't lose. You will have a life of your dreams where you have control of your time and you have control of your money. And that's called freedom. That's called lifestyle. By the way, it's not freedom to not have to do anymore. It's freedom to do more of the right things for yourself and for your goals and for your vision and for your business. We're not trying to get free from having to do stuff. We're trying to get free so we could focus on the things that are going to give us the best return and give us the life that we always wanted. To really hit our major, as Brian Tracy calls it, the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goals. But you got to start with those in mind. The rule is simple. The person who fails the most will win. Discipline to keep moving forward in spite of the results. The person who fails the most will win. If I fail more than you do, I will win. Because in order to keep failing, you've got to be good enough to keep playing. So how do we get good enough to keep playing? You'll learn it next week in Orlando at the National Bootcamp. You learn it on all of these calls. I don't know who's doing the activity call on Friday, but I promise you, whoever's doing it has overcome obstacles to get to the level that they're trusted to do the call for you. And if you will emulate the mindset, if you'll emulate the development of yourself, and if you'll emulate the disciplines necessary that the top people have and show and model, then you too will have the success and the results that you want. Thank you again, Andy and Jane Albright, for trusting us on this call. We appreciate it. We don't take it lightly. We are looking forward to seeing all of our family and our friends in Orlando next week at National Bootcamp NBC, starting Friday the 18th. Get there early. Like Beth said, arrive early, stay late, get all the marrow from the bone, and learn how to change your life and come back a different person ready to conquer the world. We love you guys. Thank you, Alliance Nation. We'll see everybody next week in Orlando. Take care.